So if you want full flexibility, you might want to do the Flare FTSO, and you would be getting about 10% in addition to that 27%. So that's about 37% in APR. Now, this is APR, not APY, which means you have to redeem those rewards and reinvest them if you want that compound interest.
What if you could combine the power of Chainlink's data oracles with a blockchain? Well, that happened, and that is Flare Network. We're talking about them today because Flare Network is a layer 1 blockchain where the validators provide compute power, security, and data to the network. So in this Flare Network review, we're going over what is Flare Network and what makes it different, why Flare Network's oracles are going to attract a lot more attention, and that's because of free data, and Flaredrops, where Flare stakers get rewarded even more than just Flare staking. So more on that later, but this video is sponsored by Flare Network. I'm still going to give a very detailed and unbiased review where I just provide what's going on, break things down simply so you can get a grasp of what they're doing and how you could potentially participate. But of course, this is not financial advice. This is just a review of what's happening, and this content is for educational purposes. So with that, let's get started. What is Flare Network? Now, we're going to jump into the website and then we're going to break down the technical terms. Flare is the blockchain for data, providing developers with secure, decentralized access to high integrity data from other chains and the internet. So, Flare Network deals with a lot of different things, but essentially their core product is their data oracles that anyone can access and anyone can start using for free. That is one of their key features. There is a paid tier, but we're going to jump into that a little later with our FTSOV2. I know there's a lot of letters there. And to explain that a little better, the FTSOV2 is an upgrade of the Flare Time Series Oracle, including more regular updates, better performance, a wider range of data feeds, and high-frequency updates. It is a stepping stone to realize the vision of Flare as the blockchain for data. Now, the reason why the blockchain for data is important and why people could be using it is when you build these decentralized applications, if you want them to become more complex and access data on-chain or off-chain, which means data from the blockchain or real-world data, news, other types of information, you need a data oracle. Now, there are other services available like Chainlink. They are the leader in the space, but there are issues with that. So in this article by the Maelstrom Fund, which is promoted by Arthur Hayes, the founder of BitMEX, the sleeper will awaken, fade Flare at your own risk, and then we dig into the details here. Flare, an emerging contender in the Oracle space, takes a different approach to Chainlink, Pyth, and other competitors. Namely, that Flare isn't just an Oracle network, it also has compute, i.e. EVM smart contracts. That means you can have smart contracts that run on their blockchain, and all the oracles are the validators of the Flare network. So it kind of just combines security, data, compute power, all of that becomes the Flare network. Flare combines a smart contract platform with an enshrined Oracle system, whereby validators are responsible for the network consensus, and producing blocks are also responsible for delivering data to the network. That is, validators are required to successfully provide data to the network in order to receive validation rewards. So I started with the simplified version, and then we got a little more technical there. Essentially, anyone who is a validator on Flare Network is also providing data to the network as a data oracle. Flare's two enshrined oracles, the Data Connector and Flare Time Series Oracle, form the backbone of the system. The Data Connector brings state data from other blockchains and web services onto the Flare blockchain, such as transaction information or whether or not a tweet has been posted. So it is just pulling data that's either on-chain or off-chain. It could be like, oh, did Elon Musk tweet about Dogecoin? Bring that in. We want that information, and if that happens, it's going to initiate a trade. I'm not saying that you should do that, but I'm saying that is possible with data oracles. Then with FTSO, delivers time series data from multiple chains to Flare. Upgrades are in the works and will eventually provide 1,000 data feeds every 90 seconds, as well as 1 to 2 block updates. So just saying that you're going to get the information very quickly. So essentially that's what Flare is doing, and that's what makes it different from other blockchains. It is a combination of services to make things a lot simpler for people building on-chain applications that needs data either off-chain or on-chain. And a little bit more information regarding FTSO v2. With the upcoming upgrade, all open source data feeds up to 1,000 will be available for free to all decentralized applications. So that means if you are building a dApp on Flare, you get access to all these data feeds for free. It is limited, but it does make it easier for developers to get started without having to pay all these upfront costs without users. So developers can test out their decentralized applications without all the upfront costs. And assuming that people want to get started learning, building, and creating blockchain applications, this could be the home of innovation. dApps building on other chains will also be able to take advantage of the data certainty provided by the FTSO for a small fee. So you can still use Flare's time series oracles with other blockchains, but if you're not building on Flare, you're going to have to pay. It's not a big fee, it's a small fee.
How to get Flaredrops, a little extra bonus for Flare holders. So here we are at oracle-daemon.com, and the APR for Flaredrops right now is about 27%. And to start getting those Flaredrops, all you have to do is go to portal.flare.network and wrap your Flare tokens. Once those are wrapped, then you'll become eligible for the Flaredrop rewards. So that would be getting you 27% APR. Now, that is nice, but you're not getting your full value because if you are staking Flare, you would also be eligible for Flaredrops, so that's an additional 16.5%, although it doesn't have as much flexibility as being a delegator to the Flare FTSO, because if you are staking with Flare, there is a lockup time period and unlock time, and there is a 50,000 Flare token minimum. So if you want full flexibility, you might want to do the Flare FTSO, and you would be getting about 10% in addition to that 27%. So that's about 37% in APR. Now this is APR, not APY, which means you have to redeem those rewards and reinvest them if you want that compound interest.
Now, jumping into the website, we get a little more details here. A series of 36 monthly Flare drops totaling 24.2 billion Flare tokens can be claimed by active Flare community members who have wrapped their Flare tokens. Now, to be eligible, a wallet must have held wrapped Flare for at least 23 days. There's some other criteria to that, but if you are a holder, just keep holding wrapped Flare tokens and you will continue to get rewards. Some other important info: Flare drop rewards can be claimed every 30 days, but 67 days after each distribution, any unclaimed tokens will be burned. This is 90 days from the start of the holdings calculation period. So, very important, Flare drops, you need to claim them every time they are available, or those rewards get burned. So if you don't claim those tokens, they get burned, which is kind of good for everybody, because if the token supply decreases over time, that makes the tokenomics a little more deflationary, and everyone holding Flare tokens, the value of those available tokens goes up. Now, if you want a little more info about how to wrap your Flare tokens and to claim the Flare drop rewards, I'm gonna leave a link in the description to this website. The Dan Opinion, me, Dan. Now, I know this video is sponsored, but I just want to break down my opinion about everything that's going on and the future potential and risks. Now, there are a lot of competitors when it comes to data oracles, when it comes to layer 1 blockchains, but what Flare is doing is coming up with a more unique approach where they are creating these data oracles, they are making them cross-chain, they are providing them for free if you are building on the Flare network. They're combining the services of a data oracle and a validator all in one, so that provides security into those data oracles. I know it might seem a little complicated if you're not too familiar with all these different features, but essentially Flare is just becoming this ecosystem for developers to bring in on-chain, off-chain, cross-chain data. So there is a lot of merit to that, but it does take time for that to evolve because the ecosystem still needs to grow, and I will be covering more of the Flare ecosystem as it develops. If this video has been helpful, you know what to do. If you have any questions regarding Flare, let me know in the comments. I will likely make more content in the future, try to address that, and we'll probably do some tutorials of jumping into their DeFi ecosystem. So yeah, look forward to that. So yeah, with that, I hope you got your full value for today.